Okay, so here's the thing no one really says out loud, but everyone whispers about Meghan Markle. Oh yes, that Meghan. To the world, she's this dazzling fairy tale figure, the Hollywood actress who snagged a prince and stepped straight into royal perfection. Designer dresses, private jets, the Montecito mansion, everything looks like a dream ripped right out of a luxury magazine spread. But hold up, when you actually follow the money, something really strange starts to appear, or rather disappear. Because all that glitter, it doesn't exactly match the gold behind it. The math just doesn't add up. Netflix deal, super quiet. Spotify, gone. Poof, vanished like last season's trend. Brand collabs, scattered, inconsistent, fading into silence. And yet, somehow, the luxury life hasn't missed a single beat. Private jets still flying, designer gowns still flowing, Montecito life still sparkling. So, naturally, people started whispering. And oh, these whispers aren't soft. They're saying someone else, someone with deep pockets, might be helping keep the dream alive. Quietly, invisibly, and very strategically. Behind closed doors, they're calling it funding continuity. Cute phrase, right? But really, that's just a polite way of saying someone's paying the bills in the shadows. And not out of love, but out of leverage. And that's where this story really begins. Not with romance, not with fame, but with money. Real, serious money. Because once you strip away the royal titles, the magazine covers, and all that PR shine, you start to see something fascinating. Meghan Markle might live like a billionaire, but her income? It tells a completely different story. See, the crown gave her fame. But the fortune? Oh, honey, that came from somewhere else entirely. When Meghan first walked into the royal world, she thought she'd hit the ultimate jackpot. I mean, who wouldn't? Castles, carriages, jewels, the kind of wealth that makes your eyes water. But the reality she stepped into? It was a cold shower. Prince Harry, yes, the actual prince, wasn't rolling in gold. His personal wealth wasn't royal-level rich. It was comfortable, sure, but not billionaire territory. Most of his money came from his late mother's inheritance and a modest military pension. The palaces, the jewels, the estates, all crown property, not personal wealth. And that was Meghan's first rude awakening. The so-called golden ticket she thought she'd won turned out to be a gilded cage. The royal institution, it wasn't her empire. It was a machine where she had no control. And Meghan, she's not built to play background, she's built to shine. So the fairy tale started to crack. The charm of royal life began to wear off. Because behind those majestic palace walls lurked one uncomfortable truth. Being royal doesn't mean being rich. It means being restrained. And if there's one thing Meghan Markle does not do, it's restraint. That's when things shifted. That's when she stopped thinking like a princess and started planning like a strategist. If the palace couldn't give her freedom, she'd find it elsewhere. Let's be honest, Meghan didn't just marry a prince for love. Oh, there was love, sure, but there was also vision. She saw potential, a man she could transform into capital. And that's where the breadcrumbs begin. Because to understand the whispers, the suspicions, the talk about who's really funding her lifestyle, you have to rewind, not to Montecito, not to Netflix, but way back, to the years before Prince Harry ever showed up in her story. Back when Meghan Markle was still hustling, orbiting the edges of power, learning how that world really worked. Before there were documentaries and duchess titles, there were patterns. Private trips, exclusive parties, quiet introductions. Meghan didn't just happen to be at those places, oh no, she was placed there. Because before there was the duchess, there was the social climber, and before there was love, there was access. So picture this. Before Prince Harry ever entered Meghan's story, she was already floating through a glittering galaxy of money, power, and influence. You see, she wasn't just another actress waiting for her big break. She was studying the game. Every room she walked into, every champagne glass she clinked, every name she dropped, it was all part of a bigger pattern. And the center of that universe? Soho House. Now, if you don't know what Soho House really is, let me spill it. It's not just a club. It's the gate to another dimension. The playground of billionaires, celebrities, and shadowy investors who fund more dreams than Hollywood producers ever could. Behind those velvet ropes, connections worth more than gold. It was there, tucked behind designer sunglasses and candlelit dinners, that Meghan met some very interesting people. Men like Ron Burkle, a billionaire investor with deep ties to royal circles. Oh yes, even Prince Andrew's crowd. Even Prince Burkle wasn't just rich, he was a connector. His private jets, luxury estates, and exclusive charity galas were the perfect backdrop for Meghan's quiet rise. And sources say that's where the real story of Meghan's money begins. Because, sweetheart, this wasn't about royal wealth. It was about private access. Meghan didn't need to own the jet if she was always on one. She didn't need to buy the luxury if someone else covered the tab, as long as she stayed visible, charming, and valuable to the right people. In those early years, every yacht trip, every Mediterranean getaway, every private weekend at someone's villa, it all played a part. She wasn't famous enough to headline these events, but she was always there, present beside power, present beside wealth, present beside opportunity. And here's the wild part. Those connections never faded. They matured, evolved, and turned into the invisible web that still seems to hold her up today. By the time Meghan met Harry, she'd already mastered the art of looking invited, when in truth she was strategically positioning herself. That wasn't luck. That was skill, calculated charm, quiet ambition wrapped in a megawatt smile. So when people now ask, who funds Meghan Markle's lifestyle? The answer isn't one bank account, it's a network, a living, breathing ecosystem of favors, alliances, and mutually beneficial friendships. The Netflix money, the Spotify collapse, irrelevant, because the pattern, the one that began in those Soho house circles, has never really stopped. It's what insiders call funding continuity, quiet benefactors, private invitations, the kind of financial support that never shows up in a statement but always shows up in a lifestyle. When deals fall through, when projects stall, when staff quietly disappear, the luxury doesn't. The jets still fly, the wardrobes still shimmer, the Montecito mansion still gleams, and that's when the whispers grow louder, because people aren't asking how much Meghan makes, they're asking who keeps the dream alive when the cameras stop rolling. It's not a conspiracy, it's continuity. One insider called it the illusion of independence. They said, everything looks self-funded until you see the hands behind the curtain. And honestly, that line says it all. Every empire has investors, every image has a cost, and Meghan's image, from those early yacht days to her glossy Netflix interviews, has always been a production, a performance, carefully financed by people who see value in keeping her visible. Because visibility equals access, and access equals influence. She's not just a duchess, she's a brand that bridges Hollywood and royalty, activism and luxury. A symbol that connects two worlds that rarely overlap. And as long as that bridge stands, someone will keep paying the toll to cross it. And Meghan Markle, the woman who learned long ago that power isn't owned, it's borrowed, remains exactly where she's always wanted to be, front and center, perfectly lit, and just mysterious enough to keep the world talking.